Alright, welcome back. This is the quadruplex part 2, or I should say it's a small part investment problem, not necessarily a quadruplex. There's 20 units. That's a note of change for anyone who's watching part 1, just to point that out, make it known. Now, I've finished, as you can see, with a lot of it. It's now just a matter of formatting it and adding it so that it makes a little bit more sense when you're just going through it and going through it quickly. So, I'm going to start by adding my name to the top so that people realize who the author of this wonderful piece of equipment is, or document, or however you want to classify it. I say equipment because personally the ability to reuse it is considerably valuable. Now, I'm going to merge these largely just because if I want to make this first column fit to the pieces that I have in here, then it makes more sense to have this merged so that it doesn't take up multiple columns. Now I'm going to start by putting this next section in column D, and you're going to see why in a little bit. I'm going to format it with just a light shading. A gray isn't a bad idea, a lighter gray or maybe a little bit darker. Just something that you recognize, yeah, this is definitely different. Now if you hold down the control key, you can actually highlight multiple areas, and this is just going to make it easier for doing the shading. I can just go ahead and click this, and I shaded all those areas nice and quick. Same concept, hold the control key, click each box that you want, and then we're going to do a thick box border. I'm going to start entering into these the information that I have. Now remember, when doing percentages, unless you want to add the percent right away, you need to consider that it is 3%. You don't enter 3, you enter 0.03. Something you get used to after a while, but just something to keep in mind. You don't want to screw up any of this stuff, because if you do, if you screw it up now, you're going to have issues continuously down the line. It's just how it is. Be careful in the beginning, you save yourself a lot of heartache in the end. Now, you saw what I did. None of this is really formatted really well and nice like it is in the PDF. Now, of course, you're seeing this online, but it's just a PDF opened through a browser, just to go and make you aware of that. And again, you're going to use the control function and just select those cells that should be formatted a given way. And this isn't that hard of a task. It's really just making sure you select the right numbers. And just going to select accounting. It's simple enough. Format works well. It's clean. You can choose to go and have more or less decimals for certain ones, such as the fixed expenses. You know, if you choose you like it better, looks neater that way, as well as for the acquisition price, because you don't always have it happen, and it's not very often that you find it with cents in the acquisition price. It can, so feel free to do things how you want. And then select the percentages next. Not a particularly difficult task, but make sure you select only those that should be. Now you'll see the way I did it allows me to just select the percentages. Depending on how you do it, by the way, increase to decimal. You have some of them that have this second decimal, and sometimes you get into that second decimal place, so it's not a bad habit to just keep all of those there. But if you don't do it the way I did, another option you have is to just type in, for example, if you wanted to do 3%, 3, shift 5 on most computers, enter, you get 3% same way. But if you do 3 and then enter, go to format it, the percentage is going to give you 300%. So just make sure you don't do that. Again, it's not a really hard thing, but can really cause you trouble if you don't stay on it, stay on top of things. I've entered that. The next step is to start doing a little bit of formatting. And I like to do my next set of formatting by just starting to highlight some of these titles. I'm just going to control select, scroll down, select again. And you can also see, oh, how did I do with these titles? Did I, by chance, do things wrong or not have it as neat as I could have? And now that you've selected all these, you're going to select the bucket again and just give it a nice yellow. Now something that stands out, makes people realize that it is an important piece. It doesn't have to go and be anything really special or anything really flashy. I'm just going to go and highlight this yellow. It'll kind of give me an idea where the information starts and the charts and everything begin. Or end, where the information ends and the charts begin. I'm going to center these, make it look a little bit neater. And now we have the fun of just doing in all borders. And then I'm going to select these bottom ones here. And I'm going to do a thick box border. This part here, it's relatively easy. Just make sure that you have the right things selected. Kind of gives you an idea, okay, where is the final answer located? Where is the simple stuff located? Now I should have gone and done this whole area. Now I'm going to re-go over that and do the thick box border. Now one of the hardest parts about this isn't hard, it's just taking the time to do it. It really is one of those things where formatting sets everything up. And then once you have that down, you really kind of get a gist for it and you get an understanding for it, so it's not that difficult. And some people like to do these on a different sheet. They'll take all these different sections and they'll do all the sections on a different sheet or some of the sections. Personally, I like having it all on the same sheet. You know, oh, well, I don't want to scroll all the way down. Okay, fair enough, but it's not all that different than if I don't want to deal with scrolling all the way to another or clicking on another sheet, not necessarily scrolling, but clicking on another sheet, then having to scroll on that sheet, then clicking back on this sheet. You know, and sometimes if you're referencing formulas, it can be even more of a pain too. Now here's going to be your first reference. You're going to reference the selling cost cell. You don't necessarily have to, but by doing it here, then putting it so that I can just do all this stuff conveniently. Right here, I get a really nice advantage of having the 6%, knowing what I need to put in this box, and I can just fill in the top of my formula sheet. And this whole sheet, you're basically gonna, if you have an information change, then you go and put in the new data up here, and it'll change the entire sheet, and everything will reformat. There's nothing that you need to go and redo and change and work intricately with. You'll finish this first section and everything will just fall in the line basically. Now, I'm going to say now, I am in my apartment, and my roommate is so graciously agreeing to remain relatively quiet. Thank you, JJ.
No problem.
Yeah, what a great guy. But that doesn't mean that the rest of the world was as compliant. You can see here I'm referencing cells again. This is for the tax, appreciation, and depreciation tax portions. I just drag down because the depreciation tax is there. Of course, you can hard code that if you really wanted. Ultimately, it's not a huge deal for what you're going to be doing with the data, but just something to consider. By the way, if you did want to hard code something, you can click on it and just hit the F4 key. Same with this one, F4. Again, not a whole lot of reason to, but hard coding can prevent you from having it start to reference another cell for some reason. If you're worried about that, then it's one way to prevent issues. Alright. Here we are.
Pieces. You want sausage or pepperoni? Surprise me.
Solving real problems. Which pizza to make? Good stuff. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
Scratch that to me.
Yeah. But nah. It's good stuff here. Now, just gonna watch. I'm gonna do a thick top border. Now you can do a bottom border easy enough. Just go to the line above. But I'm gonna show you how to custom do borders in case you wanna do it some other way, or you're not really sure what you want to do or how to do something. If you just click thickness you want, click the border you want, voila. All sorts of things. A lot of that's just messing around with it, getting an idea for how to do something. It's not particularly difficult, but I thought I'd show you just in case you didn't already know. Now some people are going to say, I don't really want to go through all the trouble of doing all these boxes. And you don't have to. Truthfully, once you go and do the job once, it it's not necessarily